What up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode, as always, is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record and more. I don't know if any of you guys saw the John Oliver this week. It was about traffic stops, and as we learn, many of them are utter BS. You can get stopped for all kinds of reasons that are not related to the fact that you were driving dangerously. And so those things can haunt you. You know, not just can a traffic stop be dangerous, but points on your record can affect you in a variety of ways. And you want to get those points off your record. You do that by calling Off the Record, or more specifically, going to offtherecord.com/TST or using that Off the Record app and entering code TST Pod. Off the Record is a service that connects you with an attorney in the jurisdiction where you got pulled over. They'll fight those tickets. They'll keep those points off your record. They have an excellent track record of success, and it'll help you outside of your driving life. It could help with your work, your insurance, your credit, a variety of ways. So make sure you don't plead guilty to a ticket. Get Off the Record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TSTPOD on the Off the Record app and do it, have it in your pocket, and you get 10% off all legal services with Off the Record. All right, on today's program, we've got my old pal Joey Seeley in studio. He is the founder and owner and president and head honcho at eMotion Engineering in Southern California. He does highly focused commission builds for very, very creative clients, everything from Pikes Peak race cars to Safari 911 turbos, overlanding Cayennes, track day specials, street monsters. He designs carbon parts. He optimizes entire cars specifically for what the owner is looking to get out of that specific car. He is an atelier of sorts and a really knowledgeable individual who has been around for a very long time. We love having him in studio, talking about Luft, talking about spiders, talking about all kinds of stuff with GT3s and shocks and wheels and tires and overlanding builds and more. It's Joey Seeley of eMotion Engineering on the Smoking Tire Podcast. And are very good at, I mean, not that you're only good at doing one thing, but you know what you know what I mean. Yeah. And even when you left BBI, it was to focus even more narrowly on that one thing. But now you have to be forced to do all this other shit to make the one thing work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get to work on the cars very often anymore.
Well, that's a problem.
You know, it takes a lot for me to get out of the office and finish dealing with all the other stuff to keep a healthy.
What's taking up your time?
Logistics, which I have help with, but it still requires me doing research and me, it's sometimes my relationships with vendors and or just doing the research and creating part of it while the guys are turning stuff, and I have to make sure that they have the parts, and then I have to, I'm still the face of the company that has to do most of the talking to the customers, and do most of the selling too.
Yeah.
Because it's you're buying into an experience, not just like, I want this part on my car at the end.
Well, most of the cars that you build are sort of original concepts.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is very challenging.
So that is challenging. That's why they have taken so long. Because it's like trying to do stuff like that and keep the prices in check. Somewhat. Because I
would recommend not keeping the prices in check. Have you seen what people are charging for this shit?
I started rolling, by the way. It's just.
I figured you did. This is as natural as it gets.
So keep going. I just want to make sure.
Okay. Yeah, people are, and that's the funniest thing. That's always a topic for me. Is everyone got really excited about the wing and deck lid on Project Nasty.
Mm-hmm. Carbon.
Yeah, carbon. It's 9 pounds without the grill.
Jeez.
It's
What's the stock one?
I don't even know. It's like probably 40.
Yeah.
That rubber alone is so heavy. And then it's a steel deck lid typically. So. People were thinking that was $3,000. I'm like, what? What? This is a piece of artwork. It's one piece.
What is it really?
It was $8,500.
Oh, okay.
But
I thought you were going to say 30.
Problem, right? Because you look at a GT2 RS Club Sport hood and it's $36,000.
Yeah.
and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So is this one. You
Yeah.
know? But that topic doesn't need to carry on because we destroyed the mold.
Did you?
We were trying to update it. And it failed.
Oh, no.
So it was like we could still do it, you know. And everyone's like, "Well, you could do this and this." I'm like, I know how we can do this again, but you know, I don't want to have the conversations that $8,500 for a beautiful piece like that is too much money.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think for the right customer, it's probably not too much money.
Right.
If you put this might sound dumb, but like if you put that on a website just with the price listed, instead of having the phone conversation,
right?
And if it already is, then correct me. But like, would that save you trouble, or would that put it up? Would it be more likely to be copied, stolen, repopped by someone else because it's like there's more photos online or something? I don't know.
Nah, I don't. It's so difficult to make it.
Okay.
So really, you have to scan it and 3D print something, or do a CNC foam plug and then create a mold. I mean, it's a lot of work to do that kind of stuff. So no, we had it on the website,
right?
But it's just the conversation was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's like, no,
that's
it's
not that crazy.
It's not crazy.
I remember 2009. I went on the Mustang GT500 KR launch. It was the first Mustang to feature a carbon fiber body panel. Had a carbon hood, and they were bragging about this carbon hood. Okay, cool. Carbon hood on a Mustang. And the car was really expensive for a Mustang. It was like, 20% more expensive than a regular GT500, only for a small amounts of updates.
Right.
I think I've maybe seen 2 on the road ever. And then someone crashed one and found out that the hood was $26,000. And they lost their fucking mind.
Yeah.
How could it? Well, that's what this shit actually costs.
Right. So, people, when Singer raise their prices, it's like, it's logical. It's reasonable. Yeah. Those cars are pieces of artwork. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea what it took them to get there?
Yeah.
Not even the marketing aspect, which they did brilliantly, but like that car, in order to get that much perfection, took millions and millions of dollars. And then
their margins are very slim.
Still takes millions to build, or at least hundreds of thousands to build the car. The margins are extremely slim. So it's a common topic.
People
especially
who run Singer aren't driving fucking Singers.
No,
right.
They're not. They can't afford them.
Right.
The margins are very slim on those things.
I started talking to a few different like air-cooled builders recently, and they're just like, we haven't even started and we're at $500,000. Mm-hmm. People are regularly, building air-cooled.
This is for people doing Singer-esque resto mod.
Their own like
thing.
One-off, kind of things where it's like
they thought they could build a cheaper Singer. And then guess what?
Right.
It's even
and
more.
You're at $800,000 and you've made not a single dollar.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's. I have the conversation with the Cayennes. We've talked about those before, and there's some of these sad builds are going for very poor money, but that's because people are diluting the market with Instagram builds.
Right.
Functioning stuff takes a lot of effort, a lot of development, and a lot of money. Period. Yeah. So it's
those Cayennes, and I really, yours are beautiful and very well thought out, but in general, an overlanding Cayenne build is a great way to make $200,000 vanish.
Exactly. Exactly.
That is a the cars they look meaty as hell, but that is as stealth a way to hide $200,000 as exists.
Yeah.
You cannot see it.
It is, and have that conversation too, because nowadays you have to have that pop, that shock.
Right.
Your wheels that stick out too far, that don't really have the articulation, and a martini livery and 7-inch lights on the roof. It's like lighting technology now doesn't require that. You can have much smaller lights.
Yeah.
So we did ours wanting to make it like the daily driver, not get attention wherever you go. They still do, but we always like to try to keep Porsche in mind. Like, would we get a nod from them? Obviously, we won't. But they don't hate it, I'm sure, because it's something. Even the air-cooled Safaris do stuff, inspired by what they did originally, which is the same thing with the Cayennes.
And it brings more people to the brand overall, because if they're not familiar with it, they go, "What is that? It's a Porsche." Oh, they can do that because I think in people's minds, there's always going to be some amount of credit given to the OEM. you know, I mean, a percentage of it, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's custom as fuck, like
Yeah.
they're still going, oh, that's a Porsche. I've seen other ones like that. You know?
Yeah, and I always give all the credit, you know, not all of it, most of the credit, because people say, why Porsche? It's like, well, you know, when it comes to our GT cars, you know, like our track builds, it's like, what? I mean, is it a supercar? Not really, but like it
Starts at a pretty high level.
It starts at a really high level, but which one? What other brand can you drive every single day, drive 4 hours to the racetrack, beat the snot out of it all day, and then drive it home? You know, it's a brand you can trust, and the performance is there, and it's the ultimate building blocks for me. So it's like Porsche gets the credit. The Cayenne, out of the box, fantastic. They're brilliant. We just enhance it, just like the GT3. We just enhance them. You know, it's the building blocks are a perfect starting point for us.
With GT3s are the, you know, a street car, even a $200,000, you know, somewhat focused street car like a GT3, has to have a compromise to be a street car.
Right.
And that compromise could be ride quality, it could be fuel economy, it could be cost, it could be this, it could be that.
Well, for Porsche, it's demographic.
Right.
The compromise is literally trying to make everyone happy.
Right.
You know, and that's nearly impossible.
Right. So with your, you know, we've got a photo up on Instagram that's a GT3 with a whole bunch of shit you're about to install on it. I see some brakes, some suspension, looks like some headers, some other bits here and there. At the bottom of the photo, I can't really identify. Are those dive planes?
Dive planes,
Okay.
a wing gurney,
Yeah.
Control arms. Yeah.
Okay. So what? So that kit, which I imagine you put that setup on a lot of cars.
Yeah.
How does that narrow the focus, and who would it turn away?
It's the fun way of explaining it is we're a tailor. You know, you can go buy a suit off of the rack, you know, from a designer, and it's a beautiful, high quality suit, but it doesn't fit you perfectly. You know, we're the tailor that makes the car fit you. You know, so this is for, you know, actually, believe it or not, we've done a lot of that type of build for customers that never see the track.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people here, I mean, not just here, but the car culture is huge here, but they love to drive, and they love performance, and they love to hit the canyons, you know, like ACH and the mountains or occasional track. So that's our demographic, really. Like, we cater to that. But we learned at Pikes Peak, of all places, because I was, you know, snot-nosed kid, you know, fresh out of pro racing, and give everyone, like, what I thought was right because it worked at the racetrack. I did it forever. Mm-hmm. You know, and then we started to, you know, well, like I said, at Pikes Peak, you had to build a car that was fast on the bottom section, which is a flowing road course, had enough, you know, weight transition to get the nose down in the, you know, uphill W's, you know, and then be able to handle the bumps at the very high speed, bumpy summit. So with that, we ended up with a perfect race setup for Pikes Peak, but it was perfect for the street guys that go to the track.
Yeah.
So they never change settings. Like, we give them, you know, that's a 4-way adjustable rear on that car and a 3-way adjustable front. We set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Which is...
I wouldn't change settings.
No.
I'd fuck it up. Folks, we got to take a quick break from the action for GetMainLobster.com that are supporting us today. You know, we want to talk about a game changer. Get Maine Lobster is a game changer. Picture a rugged sunset over the coast of Maine, the sky ablaze with color, and you're surrounded by your friends or that special someone. The salty ocean breeze mixes with the mouth-watering scent of fresh lobster. And you can already hear the laughter and the sound of cracking shells, because Get Maine Lobster isn't just dinner, it's a whole event. Whether you're impressing your girlfriend or enjoying a killer night with the boys, nothing says I know how to throw down like a feast of perfectly cooked lobster. Savor the bold flavors and share those moments that turn into stories you'll tell for years. So if you're ready to elevate your next gathering, head over to GetMainLobster.com and use promo code TIRE for 15% off all orders. Trust me, when that lobster hits the table, you will be the hero of the night. That's GetMainLobster.com, promo code TIRE, 15% off all orders, site-wide. GetMainLobster.com. It's more than just a meal. It's a chance to create unforgettable memories. Don't miss out. We are also brought to you today by MyBookie. With MyBookie, you are not just watching football, you're cashing in on the action. They've got risk-free bets, thousands in cash prizes, and epic rewards every single week. The best part is you can bet on any game, anytime, anywhere, straight from your phone. Just hit the link in the description or visit mybookie.ag and use promo code TIRE to get a head start. It's MyBookie's 10-year anniversary, and they're rolling out the red carpet for bettors. You can bet big and bet confident with risk-free Thursdays. If your boosted bet doesn't hit, you get your money back. Weekly, no-sweat, win-win bets all season long. You know, when you got some downtime, maybe on a lunch break, you do what I do and hop on MyBookie. You can take your sports knowledge and look at this week's games, turning your knowledge into cash. Sign up now at mybookie.ag and use promo code TIRE, T-I-R-E, to cash in on a double deposit bonus. You can literally double the cash in your account before you place your first bet. But don't wait on it. It's only available for a limited time. Turn that football knowledge into cash by betting over at mybookie.ag and use code TIRE. That's code TIRE. Make your football season a winning season at mybookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, and use code TIRE for that double deposit bonus. Now, back to the show.
Well, that's the thing, is I used to encourage it years ago, and they would just screw it up. And I'm like, oh, man, what did you do?
So coming from pro racing, were you just setting the cars up too stiff, what were you doing wrong for Pikes Peak?
Yeah, I mean, I was narrow-minded like a lot of people are. You know, I was just like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. You know, this is what we did. But the thing about race cars and race setups, that is a fictitious statement. It's like all detailing is the same. You know, you can get a $100 detail or you can get a $10,000 detail. They are not the same. So race setup really is a tailored setup for the driver and their abilities, for the car and their components, you know, and for the track that specific track in specific conditions. That is a race setup. So really, am I giving you a race setup? Yeah, actually, I give everybody a race setup. It's for you, your skills, your components that you have, what tires you're using, and what are you going to be using the car for? You know, so it's always going to be.
What percentage of customers, without naming names, can drive to the ability of that setup? 5%?
Maybe less than that. Well, that's the thing, too, is like that's what's beautiful about a GT3 and a GT3 RS or a GT2 RS. There's always performance left in the bag. You know, even I'll remember when I was racing American Le Mans Series, the other drivers, you know, from Ferrari and from BMW, and they would just be like giving the Porsche guys mad respect. They're like, those cars are so hard to drive fast. And that was fascinating to me. Like, the best drivers in the world still respect the Porsche drivers because they're like, that's a difficult car. I'm sure it's, you know, changed now. I've been out of pro racing for 17 years now, which seems crazy. I don't feel like I'm old enough.
Yeah.
to have done anything that long ago.
But there's a lot of people that, I mean, and I'm not saying I'm not one of them, but there's people that put a lot of money into cars and are nowhere close to being able to extract what was there to begin with.
Yeah, that GT3, that chalk one we just posted that sold immediately. You know, people did comment about that. Like, no one's going to be able to, you know, use up that performance. No. But that actually goes for a stock one as well. Like, most people can't. And it doesn't matter. Yeah. Are you enjoying yourself? Do you love the driving experience?
Yeah.
You know,
I had a hilarious conversation a few years ago at a track day at Auto Club Speedway when the 720 McLaren first came out, which is just an insane car. And one guy told me in the same fucking breath how it was crazy that I turned off traction control. He would never turn off traction control in the car. Oh, but I've got to try his car that has the downpipes and the tune that add 100 horsepower. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You don't know what the stock horsepower is.
Right.
You haven't gotten there yet because you haven't turned off traction control.
Right.
It's pulling timing still.
Yeah.
But like, but 100 more. It's just a funny mentality.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I would love to kind of dial all these cars back. You know, I'd love to do a spec say I have a GT3, even if I don't, something smaller, something lighter, but everything else the same as a GT3, just scaled down with no electronics. A true driver's car like Project Nasty. Do you know how many like pros that I've put in the car? And like Pat Long drove it, Jeff Zwart drove it, Tommy Milner drove it. Like these guys got out of the car like, oh, wow, like, that is fun. And Dayo Shahara drove it, and he was like, I need 2 days in this car. Like that's a lot of car, but it is. It's you get it. You have arm pump. Your eyes are bloodshot, like you're a teenager playing video games till 4 o'clock in the morning. Just after a 30-minute session.
Yeah,
it's a riot.
Yeah,
but it would be fun to do. Modern cars like that.
Yeah,
but it'll never happen.
Not except for like boutique outfits like Roof and
the 911K kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean,
Small,
it's not a modern car. That's like a 70s car,
right.
or 60s maybe. I don't even know how old they are. But like,
well, I think it's hard if you want to make a car small today. You almost can't because cars are so big.
Yeah,
like,
they're massive.
Yeah.
You could literally take the shell, if there was such a thing, of a modern car and completely go over the top of one of those early cars and not have anything touching.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's crazy. You stand next to Nasty. And it's just like it's teeny.
It's a very small car.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were just in the downstairs. We were just talking about Freeman and the Roof CTR anniversary, which he did his very best to make it look like a 964, but like it couldn't be the size of a 964. No. It had to be wider, and all the tricks he used to hide that.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah,
he's one of the most entertaining guys.
Yeah, it was great. 90 minutes of radio.
Yeah, I bet I should listen to it.
Yeah, you should.
It's a riot.
But if you know him, then you know what the deal is.
But that's exactly. You have a intimate one-on-one conversation. It's the same thing. It's just he's so passionate and so creative, and you see his eyes sparkle. He's super stoked to tell you about. Did you know the dimensions of this and how we did this? And you're just like, I'm talking to pure genius right now.
And that's kind of why I'm so into this Manx thing. It's like I've sort of hit the wall of, 1,000 horsepower this. The roads are still the same size they were in the 70s and the 80s. And like little cars are kind of where it's at.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because a lot of my customers have both. Mm-hmm. They'll have a GT3 RS and then they'll have a Speedster, 356 Speedster or, a 964, something a little bit slower, a little bit more fun, a little more nimble. And nowadays, like it's around here, it's just hard to drive those cars and extract the exciting parts because they do speed so naturally. Mm-hmm. Like you have to be in triple digits to be having fun. But like you get in an early car and you can have just as much fun at 50.
Right.
It's like, okay, this is more reasonable.
Mm. It's almost like the amount of work you have to put in to go whatever mile per hour. In a car like a new GT3, you have to go so fast to actually start really putting in effort, turning your brain on. And if you're in something that feels slower or like the Manx or something with narrower tires, you got to start paying attention at a lower speed. So it's just more exciting.
Yeah. Like Nasty's for sale, and people keep asking what's next, and it's likely going to be a water cooled car because that's what we do most of. But what my heart would really like to do, me as an enthusiast and not as a businessman, would be like a 912. Like a really, really hopped up little 4-cylinder 912, but ultra light and all the good, suspension tricks that we can do and make it a really hot little tight, 4-cylinder car.
You definitely could. I've driven a couple of 912s that were good. Most of them are not as good as 911s.
Right.
It's the 912 people will, but like.
Well, that's what would be fun for me because you don't expect it and no one believes it can. To do it.
Yeah.
But then again, it could be something just like an early, even a short wheelbase car.
Well, at Luft I saw, and we can talk about Luft in a second, but I saw Tim Pappas's 2-liter Cup car. In Europe, they're doing that 2-liter Cup.
I didn't know.
It's early 911s, and it's a spec series. It's like Spec Miata for super fucking rich people. It's Spec Miata in short wheelbase 911s. I mean, that's what it is.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and his car was like, I mean, it's Tim, so heavy hitting over there, and it's literally, he just showed me his new car. It was at Luft. It was black, and it was. I think he said, this may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he said it was 1,600 pounds.
I believe it.
And it was like 220 horsepower or something out of a 2-liter engine. And it had 185 rear tires. Square
Right.
stance, 185s, Avons.
Yeah.
It had a cage. And it was like, it looked like a fucking good time.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, my eyes are getting,
It looked like
wider.
a real good time. Yeah. It was, and yeah, this is what he's all doing. The 2-liter cup in Europe. And he was like, they need to bring this to America because he said there's already 10 or 12 of these cars in America, and they could do it at Monterey, they could do it at Velocity, whatever.
Yeah.
And
that would be.
it seems awesome.
Absolutely.
You could
And
probably
see
build
that
a car that would dominate this series.
There you go. That was actually video perfect. You see how it's sliding. They're all
Yeah.
sliding just a little bit because
Yeah.
that's how you have to drive those early cars. They are just loose.
Yeah. It seems,
That's the most fun.
it seems pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love hearing that, because those guys are having the time of their lives, really.
And this is like the 130th 911 ever made or something. It's like a super low VIN, and he's like, I don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, like, I binge watched all the Goodwood revival stuff, and every clip they had was old cars sliding a little bit, Jags and whatever, Austin Healey's Cobras, all that stuff, and it's just they're going fast. I mean, the drivers there are like British touring car champion or near that, but I was just like living so vicariously because it's the kind of exciting driving instead of full gripped up with 335s in the back. Yeah, it's a lot of movement.
And you watch them sawing that big wheel, it's like, oh, yeah.
I mean, Jensen Button had a great clip. I mean, just
in
it
his
doesn't matter
C-type?
who it is. They're moving so much because it's like understeer, catch it, understeer, catch it. And they're just doing these big, long slides and it's raining and shit. It's awesome.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, you should maybe build a 2-liter cup car.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you
and
you could probably sneak some Joey tricks into there.
Oh, heck yeah. Well, as long as, it's spec racing, so there's going to be limits. But that's the hard part about racing these days, that why, people ask if I'd ever go back. And no, because I like development.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays you can't change parts out of, if it's a, GT3R, like you cannot eliminate or change parts that weren't in the car.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wow, we used to have so much fun trying to figure out ways to improve the car, and now you just can't do it. If it were a little bit loose so you can get creative, it would be a lot of fun.
this is like, this is gentleman driver shit.
Yeah.
I imagine the rules are pretty casual.
Yeah.
A lot of 2.5 liters in there.
Yeah.
No, I don't
People
know.
running stroker
Maybe
cranks.
the engines are
Like,
sealed. Yeah.
There's a gentleman's agreement, no teardowns.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
Seems like a good time, that
Yeah.
kind of racing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Tim said I can have a go in his car, and I would really like to take him up on that.
What I like about those cars is just the induction noise too. Mm-hmm. Like I just recently changed the intake manifold on Nasty because again it's still for sale and I'm still changing it. But we put a carbon intake manifold and now that hollow guttural induction noise is back. I've made the exhaust a little quieter because I'm like I want to hear more of the intake. And
It's
now,
nice to be able to like tune that kind of thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's so sweet and it's still like it's quieter. The exhaust is quieter, but when you hit the loud pedal. Which
Yeah. Well, we just did this past Monday, and the video literally went up like right before you walked in the door this morning. We did the 3 718 Spiders, the stock, the Spider RS, and then my Spider with the demand motor in it. And they're so different. But the main way that the RS is different from my car is, folks, we got to take one more quick break from the action because Delete Me is supporting our podcast today. Have you or someone you know been a victim of identity theft, harassment, stalking, doxing? Privacy is important. For me, the big problem personally, although I know people who have had their identity stolen, and that is a nightmare. Fortunately, not myself. But I have been getting robocalls. Robocalls are the worst. And when you sign up for stuff, when you buy stuff online, when you do a lot of the things that you do in your regular life, your phone number, your address, things like that, they go out into these data broker services. And then people that want to spam you with stuff, it could be political messaging. It could be refinance your home. It could be selling you solar panels. It could be whatever. They call and they call and they call. That's why I used Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. All you have to do is sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly the information that you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. I did this process. You use all the variants of your name, your phone number, your email addresses, your home addresses, your previous home addresses. You tell them what you want them to search for. The experts take it from there. They send you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what's been removed. And Delete Me is not just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. Right? So take control of your data. Keep your private life private. Stop those robocalls. Sign up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, you can get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/tire and use promo code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire and use promo code TIRE at checkout. That's the only way to get 20% off. Joindeleteme.com/tire. Enter code TIRE at checkout. And now, back to the show. The RS is different from my car. The RS is all intake, and my car is all exhaust.
Right.
So you hear very little exhaust in the RS because the intake is directly behind your ear.
Right.
And it's just like hammering your ear with intake sound, which is really cool.
Right.
It's really interesting.
That's. I think I'd love that.
You probably would.
We're doing that on the 991 GT3 rally car. We put the intakes in the quarter glass.
Yeah, like the 4RS has, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Have you driven a 4RS yet?
We just had one in, and I didn't drive it.
Oh, well, that one's really interesting because that one's got the airbox in the car behind your head.
He said it was awesome.
It is awesome above 3,000 RPM. From like 1,800 to 2,400, it has this resonance in it that sucks. And that's why I like the Spider RS better because the airbox is underneath where the top goes.
Right.
So you get the same intake noise, but without the drone for that with that one bit.
Right.
Yeah. Spider RSs are quite good.
The best car I ever drove for induction noise was the 74 RS30 with the mechanical fuel injection.
And that had trumpets, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just awesome. Absolutely one of the best sounding induction. And so many other people have agreed. They're like, oh yeah. But MFI in general, was really, really good.
Why is that?
I have no idea. I'm not an engine builder, and I know almost no one likes working on the MFI because they're pretty difficult. But it's a wonderful noise, though.
Huh? I wonder what makes it so good. I have no idea.
Well, somebody's gonna write into you and explain.
Somebody will, and I'm sure they'll use a measured and reserved tone to explain why it is.
Yes,
They won't try and tell me how stupid I am for not knowing everything.
How could you even have a show?
Yeah, right. You have to know everything first.
Yeah.
This weekend, I mean, as you said, as you came in this morning, like, are you hungover from cars yet? The answer is yes. This weekend there was a lot, and it was all Porsche. It wasn't like Monterey Car Week. It's not all one brand,
right.
So there's different stuff going on. I feel like I'm a little Porsche'd out.
A little bit tired.
I feel like I am a little bit. And Luft was great. It was huge. Those guys do an amazing job, and
they do because it's huge, but they also still keep it feeling personal. Mm-hmm. Having that amount of space is helpful. So you're just like in a sea of people at all times, and you can still manage to get good photos and whatnot. But
there's intimate moments among the sea, of craziness,
right?
And I found there were a few very interesting cars that did did draw my attention. I mean, the back corner of all the IROC cars together.
Yeah.
That was pretty rad.
That was really incredible.
That was pretty rad.
That was one of my favorite spots, too.
I think that was possibly my favorite spot. And, you know, and then there's the Hollywood element of it, which I think, as nice as the Mare Island one was and as nice as other ones I've been to, you know, Loof doesn't make sense without Los Angeles.
Right.
I mean, they could put on a show anywhere and they'll do a good job, but it's especially, you know, Los Angeles because of the idea of framing the photos.
And that's what it's all about,
That's what Hollywood is.
Yeah, talking to Jeff about it, it's always about, like, that shot. And I remember him telling us, you know, talking to someone that was like, hey, Jeff, look at this photo I took. And he's like, that is the photo I intended on when I put that car there.
Wow.
And he was excited because someone got it.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a long time ago, but you're right.
But that probably happens every day.
Right.
I mean, every year anyway.
Right. At every event, because they do such a great job curating it's for photos.
Yeah.
It's for the people getting that shot.
The cameras now it's like everyone brings out, you know, either it's their Leica or their vintage 4x5. It's like a vintage camera enthusiast's like dream. I mean, the number of people I saw with the camera that had that, you know, that rope. You know, they do the rope neck strap instead of like the actual one that would be comfortable on your neck. It's like a rope that it's like a fucking noose.
Yeah,
and they're getting rope burn around their neck for that style. You know,
I'm sure there's some paid photographers that feel like it's a noose.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah. But it was really. But you got to go. Like, I think, were you there the day before for setup? Is that why there's no people in your shows?
No. Well, so I didn't go for the day before, but I did go first thing in the morning. You know, for the roll-in was 6:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, so we were right there. Like, we pulled up. I was like, oh, great, get out and stretch for a second. And they started rolling us in. It was like, oh, okay, so. Got parked, you know, pretty quickly, and then just started walking around. And a lot of the stuff was already set up from the night before, which those photos were brilliant.
Yeah, that's
in
the best
evening
photos,
was like, oh my god. Yeah. But we had a nice time. That was what was so good is we got to walk around and see, you know, all the perfectly curated spots and photos and take our shots. And then it was time to like relax and just talk to people, because usually, well, you know, you walk 5 feet and you're talking to somebody, and you miss out on the whole event. Like at Airwater, I missed out on the entire thing.
Really,
I was stuck in the arena. I got out one time and talked to Gunnar Jeanette, you know, over by Rexy.
Yeah,
you know, we're old racing buddies, so it was just like got to hang out with him and chit chat, and that was the extent of my day.
It was hard. I felt a little bit more like an attraction than an attendant, which. Look, that's my own fault, you know. But like that just is what it is. Yeah. But like, it does make it. I kind of wish I was able to go the night before, and sort of quietly experience the cars, in a way that I didn't really get to do on Saturday. But I also got yelled at as I was leaving. I ride my Vespa there.
Okay.
Because I don't drive cars to Hollywood because it's fucking annoying.
Why would you?
Why would I? If I'm not,
you don't have to.
If I'm not in the show, so I rode my Vespa, and you know, Jeff gave me a VIP parking pass, which was very nice. So I was able to just ride into the studio and sort of park right behind the building where the 917 was, which was great because it was where I was doing my podcast with Spike. Or Spike's podcast, excuse me. And as I was going to leave, I'm getting on the Vespa. I get stopped by security. He goes, hey. Oh, yeah. He goes, and he points to right where I'm about to ride. He goes, no motorcycles or scooters on the lot. And I go, okay, well, like, I'm leaving, so, like, where would you like me to go?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, there's no motorcycles anywhere on the lot. And I go,
but I'm here.
I'm leaving. I'm already here, and now I'm leaving. What would you like me to do? And he goes, no, I'm telling you, for next time, no scooters in the lot. All right, see you in 5 years. You know, hope you still work here then.
Got it.
Like, cool, thanks. Like, To tell someone who's leaving that they're not allowed to be there is very, very silly.
Yeah, I understand it. Help me out. You want to grab one end? I'll grab the other. But walk it out of here.
Yeah, I left at this, but my buddy who parked in like the general people parking had to take a shuttle, and like I left on the scooter, he left to go get on the shuttle. I got home to my house here, and he texted me, "Just got in the car. My ETA is 50 minutes." Like, I was home before he was in his car, and I was like, fucking Vespa. There needs to be a Luft for Vespas.
Yeah, there you go. I bet that would be huge.
There is a motorcycle. I don't know if it's a Luft. There is like a very cool motorcycle show. I don't think Vespas are part of it, but there is a. I think it's like the Handmade, or John Ward is involved in it somehow. It's like
there's.
Long Beach
luck, man.
Classic
There are a
Club.
lot of.
Oh, are they going to be playing Op Ivy at their?
There are many Vespa gatherings in Southern California.
Oh, all right.
You want this?
I've
one?
seen them out where they just take over.
Yeah.
the
Oh
road.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, some of
gang.
them with the mirrors all over.
Save that. Save that Instagram.
This
LA
one?
Vespa Club. Yeah, I'll fuck with them.
Hell yeah.
Our motto is ride donuts, ride tacos. I like keeping your mission statement very simple.
Yeah. Ride donuts, ride tacos. That's perfect.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
That's exactly the thing I'd like to be doing on my Vespa.
We were scared to death of leaving there. Hollywood, Saturday afternoon, 100 degrees basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the temperature was, but it sure felt
Yeah,
like
it was
100
definitely
degrees.
100.
We just stayed there. We just stayed there. We just stayed at the Universal Hilton or whatever, and because we had to get up for the motoring club event the next morning.
Oh, what
yesterday
was
morning.
that?
It was just for Falcon Tire. It was a cars and coffee thing.
Oh, okay.
So we were happy to attend that, which was cool because that was a very eclectic bunch. Like there was
motoring
Porsches,
club
there was
stuff usually
Ferraris, they're all import stuff, off-road stuff. It was pretty cool.
The next morning, I had to go to Porsche Santa Clarita, who are a great group, but they were doing this My Porsche Story thing. It's like their new video series for you because we got to create content.
Yeah.
Can't sell cars without having some content.
Right.
And I'm making fun of them, but I understand. And so they launched their first 3 episodes, which was Magnus, Jay Ryan, and me. And so they literally had like a Cars and Coffee, but also like set up like a theater. It was a little awkward to watch YouTube in a theater format.
Yeah.
But it was more Porsches.
Yeah.
And of course, they put my car in the showroom, so I had to be there at 7, and I was there until noon. So it was a lot
That's a long.
a lot of Porsche.
That's a long time.
I had 38 cups of coffee.
Oh man.
It was a lot of Porsche. I'm a little Porsche'd out.
Yeah.
And of course, probably by the time we're done with the show, they'll have dropped off the new Panamera Turbo S hybrid that we're filming tomorrow. So
Okay.
one more car, and then we're done with Porsche for
For a little while. Yeah.
The new Panamera, though, it's got this hydraulic suspension, which I think you would probably appreciate.
Maybe.
Have you fucked with it before? Have you tried it in Taycan yet or Panamera?
I just like how they drive. I've not done anything with them, but they're rolling out brilliant cars.
Has anyone asked you to do any kind of kit on a Taycan yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of dreamers, that just don't have a clue, like we'll go in full circle, of how much this stuff costs.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be $10,000. You're talking a couple $100,000 to recreate something so brilliant, like to improve on that or have it, serve a different purpose. So that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I get a lot of inquiries, but it's like, okay, I'm not even going to entertain this until you realize that. If you're open to spending another $300,000 or $400,000 on, building a Taycan into an off-road vehicle, that's on the low side.
Yeah.
Really,
well,
to make
at that
it
point,
functional.
they're not a customer. They're a patron.
Right.
That's a commission.
That's a commission, exactly. And maybe that's how I...
Did you guys make
Oh,
this
yeah.
show?
About 8,000 people sent me this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Mark Zuckerberg went to West Coast Customs and had them build a, quote, minivan out of a Cayenne Turbo GT. Which, on the one hand, I am happy to see a billionaire doing this instead of, Mark Zuckerberg buys senator,
Yeah.
to have law change so that he never has to pay taxes again.
Yeah.
Well,
Which, by the way, he's
finished doing
probably
that in
also
Hawaii, so-
probably also doing that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, this is the kind of shit billionaires should be doing, having crazy custom cars made.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said his wife wanted a minivan, so he had a Cayenne Turbo GT turned
That's-
into a minivan.
That's a limo. That's
yes,
not
it
a
is.
minivan.
It has a sliding door,
Yeah. A minivan.
which I guess
sliding
makes
door.
it a
Yeah.
minivan.
Yeah.
But like, the funny thing is, if your wife wants a minivan, what your wife probably wants is a certain level of practicality, invisibility, reliability,
Yep.
ride, maybe a vacuum built into a Honda Odyssey, some shit. This isn't that.
No. Nope.
It looks 80 feet long.
You are
it
not
looks like
incognito in that car.
no.
Dude, imagine you had a
Ever.
minivan with 3.5 degrees of negative camber in the front, like the Cayenne Turbo GT has. Imagine blowing through P0 Trofeo's 23-inch every 2,000
Also,
miles.
like, God forbid anything from the door mechanism breaks. There's only one shop in the world that can fix it. It's West Coast Customs.
Right.
And they live up in NorCal, and this thing's down, or West Coast Customs is down here. And also, minivans are very practical. They usually have a good turning radius. Like, I look at this thing, and it looks like the wheelbase is long, squared wheelbase. Like
That might high
towards-
center on a speed bump.
Exactly.
Like,
I think turning
like
around in a
straight
parking
up.
lot while you pick up your
a
kids will
turtle.
be very hard.
Damn it. I'm stuck.
How do you think the rear steer programming is affected by something like this? I bet it handles weird as hell.
Oh yeah, it's all. I mean, I'm sure there's nothing about that's done right.
I'll tell you what, it doesn't look as bad as it could look.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like it's basically as tasteful as a Cayenne Turbo GT minivan could be. Right?
I suppose. I mean,
From a styling perspective.
right.
Like
It'd just be shorter.
it
It wouldn't be a Suburban.
Yeah. I like that car has so many bits of tech to make it drive the way that it drives. That stretching the wheelbase by 7 feet probably,
Yeah,
it's got to be a mess.
I think so.
Right?
I would really honestly think so.
The aggressive ass rear steer in the Cayenne Turbo GT, when it's this much further away, it's got to be crazy.
Yeah.
Plus, it looks like the fucking thing is slammed on bags,
Yeah.
which it, I suppose, technically is because it's on air suspension.
Right. But I mean, there's that practicality of a minivan. Maybe not. And you lengthen it, so you're definitely high centering on a speed bump.
If my wife asked me for a minivan and that's what I would delivered, she'd be like, "This is not what I meant."
Yeah. Cool. Never driving it.
Yeah.
And now, where do we put it?
Yeah. What am I supposed to do with that?
Good Lord.
So is what are people asking you right now the most for streetcar stuff? What are because for a minute it was all about safari and overland.
Yeah.
That
so
seems to have maybe subsided a little bit.
it ebb and flows. It's like it's funny. It was Zwart who said, he's like, "Wow, this is really incredible. You're showing your versatility." I'm like, "No, I'm showing my ADD." Like, we haven't focused on anything in a long time. We still do the Cayennes. We did promote that, quite heavily. We were having fun with it, which came at the cost of doing, some of the GT cars. So we're back to doing those a little bit more. That's why you don't hear so much about the Cayennes. We're about to get one in to build out here shortly. The Safari cars, like the blue 991 Turbo S, that thing was a riot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I should probably get that back for you to drive, for both of you to drive, because
How does that differ from like a standard Dakar, 911 Dakar?
every single possible way. Because the Dakar is, it's stock-ish suspension with the hydraulic lift.
Right.
And low-profile off-road tires, no underbody protection. So this is 18-inch wheels instead of the 1920 on a 29-inch tire, and full motorsport suspension, full articulation from the control arms with spherical bearings, and full underbody armor. Like, nose and tail, everything about the engine, the turbos, the oil tanks on the turbos is all protected. It has full recovery points. It's you can beat the snot out. I did. That first test I did, I slammed the nose into the ground and slammed the rear into the ground, over, washes in the desert. and it did nothing, at all. Like put it up on the rack and it scuffed it, which was awesome. But the performance on the street was still that you would daily drive that, and then
I would love to daily drive that. I bet that would be a good time.
Oh, and 70 miles an hour in the dirt, and just remember, of course, you had the Keen Project Safari car, and it's like not slowing down for driveways.
Oh yeah,
was the best part of those cars. Is like this is brilliant for daily.
Yeah, I really liked as an LA car. It was excellent.
The off-road and climbing this, I wasn't intending to climb this hill, but the videographers is like, let's go do some technical stuff. And I'm like what? So we actually started climbing hills that I really wouldn't do. I mean, I would do in the Cayenne, but I didn't think ever Turbo S would do it. And it felt exactly the same. The all-wheel drive behaved exactly the same.
Huh.
It was incredible. So I'm stoked. We get some inquiries for those, but that is extremely expensive. I mean, that car was overstock. It was $230,000 to do the conversion,
plus a car,
plus the car.
Yeah,
right. So we're doing the.
Is there any way to scale that? I mean,
we can do more, but this. At that price, I made no money.
Yeah.
We had fun. The idea is to do more. The GT3 is next, which is virtually the same thing, believe it or not, because we got rid of all the GT3 subframes, uprights, all of that, and now it's Carrera. Because GT3s are meant to be low. So if you're going to try
Does that make more sense than putting a GT3 engine in a Carrera? Does it make sense going the other way?
It like the electronics.
Oh,
the electronics
right,
are a nightmare.
Okay.
So to just change suspension geometry is the easy part. And that's what that customer wanted was a GT3 engine. And we, because he lives at high altitude and he doesn't want turbos. Which is he just loves NA cars, but he needs something high revving. That is properly aspirated.
Yeah.
But yeah, the changing the uprights was the easy part. So now rather than because it's virtually the same as what do they call it, spindle drops or whatever back in the day. You're just moving the wheel bearing up for a lowered car. So we just move the wheel bearing back down, and you get better articulation. And I did it to Jeff's 997 Cup rally car. We put Carrera uprights, and we gained 1.5 inches of suspension clearance.
My Manx is going the other way. My Manx gets lowered.
Yeah.
Which is a street car.
Yeah, it's a street car.
Yeah. They're like, you're not going to hit the dunes? I'm like, no, I'm not hitting the dunes.
No. Dunes are far away.
Pismo is a drive.
It's a hell of a drive.
That was ultimately the problem with the Safari car. That ultimately was what led to me going, you know what, after a week of driving shit all over the world for work, I wasn't like, my day off, what am I going to do? Let's go to Pismo and beat the shit out of my car and then my spine and drive home.
So that's why I don't go to the track very often anymore. It's like, oh no, I'm tired of cars. I will take the Cayenne, which I haven't even done that in a long time, but it's not to go drive. The drive, that part, the journey is fun, but it's about camping far, far away from everyone.
Yeah.
And no light pollution and all that.
Yeah, you and your was it your brother and someone else, you guys like to go off-road camping in the snow, or not? You don't like to go in the snow, but I remember you showed me that footage where the snow showed up.
Yeah,
and I was so nervous watching your videos, dude.
That was the scariest trip I've ever taken.
Yeah,
we did. That was in Moab, Utah. We did Hogsback in the snow and ice.
Yikes!
It's rarely snows there, and there was a point we were radioing. My brother was leading, and my sister was in the middle, and I was at bringing up the tail. He radioed her on a descent and was like, "Hey, why don't you stop at that hairpin in case Joey can't stop?" Because it was straight down, I was going to end up in the water, and it was ice chunks flowing, down we would have died.
Whoa!
So it was like, Kate, get out.
Yeah,
you're just going to walk next to me.
Yeah. Your car is a barrier now.
Kate's job will be to start a fire in case you go in the water, warm you up.
But yeah, we do. We're not afraid of camping in the snow. Actually, look forward to it.
Camping in the snow is probably lovely.
It's lovely if you've got the gear, and you can stay warm. It's great. It's absolutely beautiful.
No, it was your footage of driving on Moab Slick Rock, which is very grippy when it's dry most situations. But just I was watching the videos with you and seeing how nervous you were, and I was getting secondhand anxiety attacks. It looked rad, but also no thanks.
Yeah, it was.
Can you use your car to produce heat in your rooftop tent? Is there a way to do that?
Probably. We don't.
Someone might have figured that out.
Set it on fire.
A lot of people, like my brother has a little buddy heater, a
Yeah,
little propane heater that he puts in his tent. But we, typically when we do the winter stuff, we have that camper.
Oh.
So, and it has a little furnace on it, which is kind of fun.
Tow behind
Yeah.
camper?
Yeah. It's
What can your Cayenne tow?
almost 8,000 pounds.
Oh, so plenty. Yeah.
I used to, tow GT3s to the track, comfortably. So in that trailer is like 1,500 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing. And it's pretty fun because there's no rear axle and it has suspension, independent.
Yeah.
Which is really
just
kind of funny. Yeah. So you can go anywhere with that thing.
Yeah.
And it's short enough too that it tends to track directly behind the Cayenne.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
cool.
pretty
That'd be so
convenient.
fun.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've used it, so
I
we're
like
looking forward
driving
to this
your
fall.
Cayenne off-road. I mean, I didn't do anything that was super challenging with it, but it was genuinely like a pleasure to drive it off-road.
Yeah.
There's people that really like their off-road builds to be like super hardcore.
Yeah.
I like to get somewhere very comfortably.
Well, we've grown up.
Yeah.
Because I was the same way. I mean, we either off-road builds or track builds. It was like, go crazy.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome that we don't have air conditioning because it's heavy. No, it's not. There's nothing cool about that.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I want a daily driver. I like dual purpose everything.
Sure.
Like, I want everything that is humanly possible in a car or any aspect of my life, not just be a one-trick kind of application.
Yeah. I don't mind every once in a while something with a super specific niche. I don't mind, but yeah, I'm happy that my crazy hot rod Porsche has pretty soft suspension and I can go on a road trip in it, and it's not just like for this one.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah,
and even my Safari car was like pretty good daily driver.
Yeah.
Other than the heavy clutch.
Right.
Did the person who commissioned the turbo, and you don't have to give up too much of them if you don't want to, like, do they have experience driving rally cars and other things, sports cars in dirt basically, and they said, okay, well now I want to combine my love of high-end Porsches with that kind of driving, or was this a new experience for them?
He went from like exotic cars and modifying exotic cars the wrong way into modifying like G-Wagons. And he has one of the 6x6s, and what are even the four-wheel squared, whatever that's called, but portal axles and everything, and he likes to play around in the desert.
Okay.
And really, really enjoys that. So, but he still liked his sports cars. So he's like, hey, I was building him a street hot rod. It has 800 horsepower. And then he's like, mid-project, he's like, and I just bought the dampers for it.
So useless on the dirt.
Like he goes, he's like, what do you think about doing a safari type build? I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, hell yeah,
absolutely. So he loves it. It's his daily. As often as possible.
Yeah.
So
there's no need for 800 horsepower on the dirt.
No,
it doesn't do anything.
No. But it was already
done.
Yeah.
You should go to Glamis, and I'd like to see him drag race the guy that owns the Tesla sand truck. And I just want to see that happen.
I know
we
intended to go to Glamis with it before I gave it back to him. So maybe at some point, like I'll take it back and do some more fun stuff. Inspect everything to make sure it's all in good order.
Yeah, you got to quote check it.
Yeah,
right?
you got to make sure the
definitely
testing.
Test it all.
It's going to take me a while to go through the whole car, and then you can have it back when it gets hot again. And I don't want it.
It makes sense. Like, the cars are. All modern cars are almost all modern cars, and certainly supercars and stuff are really. People don't like when I say this, but they're really too fast for public roads. I mean, if you're in a McLaren and you are using all of that McLaren or most of it, you're doing something that's probably a felony.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. Or crashing.
But the desert, we have so much of it. There aren't rules.
Right.
I mean, beyond, the basic rules of morality. And you can do big slides, you can jump stuff, you can go crazy fast, and that stuff is allowed. And so a desert build does make a lot of sense if you want to, really push your car.
Well, and also people, they love the driving experience in general, right? But a lot of people love the project. They love the process. So, the overlanding and off-roading world is blown up exponentially for that reason. Because now it's like, where can we drive this kind of horsepower? Well, we can't. So let's go build something that's more work. You know, we get to have a more fun and actually use it, you know. And I don't know if you really appreciate nature, you know, and don't go out there to destroy it. But, like, it's really rewarding. You know, have some fun driving and stay in wonderful places and connect with nature.
Well, that's why a Taycan Safari would be so awesome, because have you ever been silent off-roading? Have you ever been electric off-roading?
I haven't, but I know I would like it because I think the whole silent everything, like sailing.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun in speedboats.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really cool. But sailing is, wow, that's wonderful. And then the first time I went in a Taycan, I was like, ooh. Speed without vibration and sound, that's pretty wild. That's a neat experience. It's kind of disorienting. So.
It can be disorienting. I've tracked Taycans a bunch, and after I did, we did Performance Electric Vehicle of the Year for Road and Track, and I was setting the lap times. And after my session in the Taycan GT, I was like, I felt really weird.
I bet.
I felt really weird for about a half an hour. My body couldn't process what was like happening.
I've heard people get sick.
Yeah, they do
because it's so disorienting.
Yeah, once the cars, when you have the really fast stuff, the Lucid Sapphire and your body doesn't understand what's happening to it because it doesn't have the sound. It doesn't. Sound allows you to prepare for G-force,
right? Which
these cars don't. Yeah. Especially when you talk about Taycan GT with like super cheater tires, you know, and all the kind of stuff that they're doing where they're pulling GT3 levels of cornering grip with the active ride suspension. Your body is very, very confused.
Yeah, your brain's just like, hey, there's missing input here.
Yeah,
there's quite a bit of it.
But we took a Rivian off-roading, and it was such a pleasure because you can do it with the windows down, and you hear every bit of gravel under the tires. You can hear a bird chirping over here. You hear the world around you. You don't hear, you know.
Yeah, there was a kid that I knew years ago that put an electric motor on his bike, and he liked to hunt for hogs.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know where you do that, but apparently it's pretty big here in California.
Sneaky.
But yeah, he said, you know, animals, wildlife hear your footsteps, which that means they hear a bicycle crank set too, like as you're pumping. He's like, but when I put an electric motor on, they just didn't even pay any attention to me. So
it's not very sportsmanlike.
Yeah, right. Yeah, makes it easier.
Yeah, but pouring deer piss all over you is sportsmanlike.
Listen, if you're willing to pour deer piss all over yourself, you got to pass. Shit's nasty.
It's an interesting hobby.
Yeah, a Taycan Safari would be pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I wonder what, if anything, you're able. I mean, you could. I don't know. Have you modified Taycan suspensions in other ways? Have you ever like taken the wheels off one and really even looked? Oh, no. So it'd be a total blank slate.
Yeah, which is intriguing to me. You know, that's the fun part.
Yeah, you like that.
We'll
stuff,
figure it out. Yeah. You know, we always do.
Yeah.
You know, so love the challenge. You know, for sure. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe from this show, someone will be like, "Okay, let's go."
Well, I wonder if
it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So don't call if you're.
Well, I wonder if because they had some of the base models would have from a couple years ago. They had a fixed suspension, and then there was an optional air suspension. And now they have now air suspension is standard, and the hydraulic is optional.
Got it.
And the hydraulic's real crazy.
Oh, right, that's right. The hydraulic where it's fully active.
It's fully active.
Yeah, that's wild.
Really wild. And I mean, you might be able to just somehow program that to do what you need it to do because it's got a huge amount of travel.
Right.
I think it's 5-6 inches.
Have you seen me with a computer?
I was going to say, it doesn't seem like
somebody.
That means I'm going to have to bring in somebody.
Maybe Mitch can do it. I don't know if Mitch can. Do you work with him?
I do, and we almost exclusively. But he's just gotten so busy.
Yeah.
He's smart. He doesn't like custom projects.
No.
He's like, no. I'm like, I'm too busy with my. Bread and butter stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if he's ever tuned an active suspension before, or if he even knows how. I mean, he mainly does engines, obviously.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, one of his friends loves doing that kind of stuff that is just wild, and he's exceptionally smart. We were just talking at Luft, and like, hey, do you want to do some of this? He's like, I will. He's like, but I don't market that stuff. He's like, that's for you to market. I'm like, oh, because that's like going to be a one-off, you know, or maybe like 5 or 10 of them. So, okay, now I have to kind of rethink that. Like, maybe I link up with a few other people like, hey, do you want to get into the electronics of everything that isn't the engine and transmission, you know, and be able to delete options or modify options. So
have you driven 911 ST at all?
I haven't.
So that was what you're saying brings that to mind because, you know, the dampers and hardware on that car are exactly the same as the 911 Touring, but the ride was so much better than the GT3 Touring, and all they did was spend a year just, you know, like refining all that stuff. Like, so it does seem like that the same way with engines. There's tunability in active suspension.
Oh yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
And it can do a lot.
Now a lot of the, you know, aftermarket companies are going active, you know, so it's adjusting the, you know, the damper tuning on the fly, you know, and it's cycling in milliseconds. It's
you know what I
wild.
just read is that KW is doing a coilover kit for classic Italian cars. They've just launched the Ferrari Testarossa program, and it comes with nose lift built into it, and it's plug and play for the Testarossa. And I'm kind of excited about this because the Testarossa has 6 coilovers. It's got 4 in the rear and 2 in the front.
Right.
But so does my Countach.
Right.
And I was thinking I would hit up KW and ask if they wanted to do a Countach, and they could use my car to develop it.
Yeah.
And I think it could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, we've got them here, you know, KW North America is who I work with.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd be down.
I think they might, right? I mean, if they're doing Testarossa, it's not a far leap at all to get to Countach from Testarossa.
Right.
Have you encountered, like, old supercars seem like they sit higher than new ones. So are there a lot of times where you've been driving the Countach and you're like, oh, I wish I had nose lift here? Or
I don't think I've ever actually scraped the nose. The Countach, the Testarossa has a crazy long front overhang.
The overhang is massive.
The overhang of the Testarossa, and we drove that Koenig one, which had an even longer fucking overhang on it, which was insane. The Countach overhang's pretty short. And the car does sit a little higher. But actually what I would want from KW is to make the car sit more at that low body height where it's like an inch dropped, but then had the nose lift.
And it would ride better and it's more sophisticated.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would definitely ride and handle better.
That'd be cool.
Oh, that's the best thing you can do to old cars is put a proper damper in it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to do, like, upgrades. I mean, that's an upgrade. But, like, you don't have to modify the car and put a modern damper in those old cars, and it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Because most of them really are terrible.
Yeah. Well, and if it's an old car, the bushings might be shot and all that stuff.
You can freshen that stuff
I have
up.
all new bushings for the car.
Perfect. But you put a good damper in it, you know. We were talking, we had a meeting at the shop with KW and some other people outside of my market, some hot rod guys, you know, and they were saying that. They're like, the hot rod market, there's nothing for dampers. They're kind of stuck in the Stone Age.
Oh,
it's like
interesting.
as soon as these guys start putting a real good damper in there, it's going to be like, these guys are paying $700,000, $800 million for a hot rod.
But I imagine if you go to Roadster Shop or Detroit Speed, I mean, they're putting real stuff in there.
Some of them are, yeah. Those guys, I'm sure, you know,
or you
they're
get a
putting,
Morrison chassis or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But those are chassis.
Those are chassis, exactly.
Yeah.
So they are all doing independent rear suspension. Not all,
Yeah.
but a lot of them are doing independent rear suspension. But it's still like a not great damper.
Yeah.
You know, you put something like, or you know, talking about KW, like you put something like that in, it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be able to put more power down, which is what no one really ever thinks about. You think about how it handles the bumps or handles the corners, but like power down under braking and accelerating is going to be
my Fox body I converted to independent rear suspension, and it was a world of difference.
Yeah.
The Maximum Motorsports now makes a plug-and-play IRS kit for the Fox body. I had to buy a complete unit out of a 2004 Cobra and fit it, but Maximum Motorsports now has a plug-and-play, just, you know.
That's so cool.
Swipe your credit card and get one. Just really nice.
Yeah, that is.
I think, would you rather... I mean, I think I know the answer to this because it's a big part of the reason that you left BBI to do your own thing, which would you rather do these tailor-made $500,000 commission creative projects slower but one at a time for a customer, or would you rather have an E-motion line of handling kits that you could sell. And
Well, we do have that. That's it's just been under the radar for a little while for reasons that we don't need to talk about. But having the shop, turn and burn projects and installations is great. Having product is scalable, and then those tailored builds I enjoy. But it's the way I see it is it's kind of tiered. It is like 3 different business models, but one feeds the next and on. So like the tailored builds are really fun. They're really exciting. That's a business model that will sell our parts because, if we can develop product that is usable for other purposes, and it's a marketing tool as well. And then, of course, we have the service facility doing, installations. That's the plan right now. We'll see how things change in the near future if they do. But we also want to get, we want to have a satellite facility out of state. Because I love nature and the mountains and all that, that's where I want to get. But here is so important to be, for the car culture. And that's fine. We'll keep the shop open doing the services. And my guys do better quality work than even I do nowadays, So it's still to my standard and my spec. But it'll be nice to take those big projects where I'm less distracted so I can get through them quicker. So do those in a separate facility, and then have all the rest doing the same as it always has been. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the work that you guys do is every time I see it, I'm like, oh shit, that's very detailed. There's a lot that it takes a lot to make it look like not a lot has been done.
I'm glad you said that because it's true. It's very easy to make something pop and look wild. It really does. But making even a bracket to hold a tank of some sort and have it all hidden and look like it was always intended to be there takes a lot of time. Or a simple bracket, they're like, that's only attached in 3 points. Yeah, but you know how long it took and how big the contraption was to even get down to that simple bracket. It takes hours and hours and hours. So to make things look, again, like Porsche would go, okay, that's cool, we dig that.
I just remember, and it was one of the only. Well, there's a lot of visible innovations on the Pikes Peak car. I remember you were so excited because you showed me the intercooler in the back seat, which had been you're like, I reversed it. Or you did something with it where you were so excited for what you'd figured out.
I always love doing boost strategy, even with Batem. We shorten the distance from turbo to throttle body by 35% by turning the intake manifold around backwards and putting the intercoolers inside the car. It was just straight up out of the turbo, under the quarter glass is really where it comes out, and the intercoolers sat there and they're air-to-water intercoolers. So that was more efficient. So we made 1,200 horsepower or 1,000 wheel horsepower at 19 pounds of boost, which is really low.
That's low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so 3.6? It's a Metzger? Oh,
it's a Metzger. It started as a 997.1 GT3 engine, which is that's what the Metzger guys like to use for big turbo builds because it's because the heads are big and you can spin the thing to 8,500 RPM, which is I think we kept it at 8,000. But there's a picture of it. So you can see it merge and then go directly.
This is for Rhys's car.
Yeah,
for Rhys's Pikes Peak car, right? Yeah.
So that moved a bunch of weight forward. Because usually that same size intercooler is hanging off, behind in the bumpers. Bumper. Yeah, so we moved a lot of weight forward. We moved the oil tank to the passenger seat. There's a bunch of stuff. We ended up changing the weight distribution on that car significantly.
Do those? This is a race car, but do those modern 911s racing builds perform better when the weight is moved further forward?
Pretty much across the board, if you can keep the weight inside of the axles, that's why mid-engine's so great, because they've moved the engine from, if it's rear or if it's often front. Even the front engine guys, are moving the engine
back. For sure, the AMG GTs
so
and stuff like that.
It's essentially a mid-engine car. It's just in front of you. So it's still considered front engine, but it's mid.
The Ferrari Puro Sangue, which is a very strange-looking SUV, has a V12 entirely behind the front axle. It's a front mid V12 SUV.
So anything you can do. Rhys's, when we agreed to work together, and we did a fun post, but I handed him the steering wheel. We took a picture because he injured his hand and he needed to modify the steering wheel, so I was giving it to him, but he had the Bentley there still. That was cool.
The race car, the Bentley race car.
Yeah, the race car that he ran at Pikes Peak. From Bentley, the engine is on the ground inside the axle. I forget the shock towers were completely above the engine. The engine was below the shock towers. But it
was a V8 Bentley, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it had the oil pan was a stressed member. It was the lower subframe.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was. I was just like, oh,
did
man,
Pratt
awesome.
and Miller build that? Like Bentley didn't build that. Who built that?
ProDrive.
ProDrive built that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
it looked like
you
a
got
Bentley.
Pratt and Miller and you got ProDrive, and
that ain't a Bentley.
That thing was. That was cool.
That's
the stuff sick. Rhys is brilliant. That guy is so fun to work with.
I just drove the new Bentley Continental Hybrid.
Okay.
Which is based on Panamera Turbo S hybrid architecture.
Okay.
So it has a 21 kilowatt hour battery pack. So they put it behind the back seat, behind and under. So it moves the weight distribution from 55-45 to 48-52.
Okay.
It's like a big swing.
Yeah.
And so we had it on the racetrack, and you can do big slides in this thing now. It made it so much, even adding 400 pounds, it made it so much more fun shifting that weight further to the back.
Yeah.
And even Jethro, who was out there, he was like, they've learned a lesson from Porsche. Weight back.
Yeah.
And oh my God, look at that engine.
Yeah, look at that. And it's basically the transmission is next to you. It's on your right hip.
That is not built by Bentley.
It was so cool. To see that. So we know moving weight to at least inside the axles.
Look, it's got the sparkle going on.
It does.
It's got a bit of flake in that paint. How about that?
He likes his.
I like that there's an Akrapovich fucking sticker on there, and the exhaust is about 8 inches long and comes out right behind the front tire. Yes, Akrapovich supplied this one piece of pipe.
We asked him for a spare sheet of titanium to use as heat protection.
So silly.
Yeah, that thing was awesome.
That's a really cool car. Bentley race cars are objectively good.
Yeah. Well, nowadays race cars I've been out for 17 years now. And they were good back then.
Out of racing, not out of jail for people who just
Yeah, I was out of pro racing as my full-time job. The 996 and 997 RSR were fantastic, brilliant cars. But my God, this GT3R was incredible, and everything like that Bentley, just modern. Within, even if you say within 10 years, the cars have just gotten incredible. The technology, and the engineering behind all of it is fascinating.
Do you think the rate of evolution has been fastest in 2000 to 2010 or 10 to 20, or were there big leaps you're aware of, from 60 to 70, where they figured stuff out?
I think I wish we were racing. We were all around for that era of racing, because that was wild. But I think the jumps in technology, well, like a 962 or a GT1, those were that era of car was wild, and the McLaren, GT1 and all that it'd be hard to say that was less than it is now. It's just different. There's a lot more electronics involved, and the aero is gone a long way.
Is a better known science now. There's a great podcast all about the McLarens that went flying down Le Mans. The ones that
and
Porsche
in a row.
The Mercedes.
Sorry, the Mercedes,
Yeah.
right?
Mercedes and Porsche.
It's because the aero we didn't have all the computing power yet.
The Mercedes was part aero, but apparently it was a suspension issue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got to have beers with Peter Dombreck, who was in one of them.
Oh,
after a race, I was just I was fanboying. I was having beers, just sitting across one-on-one and just drinking away, and he was telling me all about it. Yeah, he said it was a porpoising issue.
Oh, yeah.
And it just, the nose was lifting. And
same thing.
At that speed.
It's like Mercedes F1 cars 2 years ago had the porpoising problem, but they never went flying through the air.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Zach, do we have anything from the people? We need to go to the Patreon, of course, if you want to ask questions of the show and our guests, if you want to get the show early, if you want to watch the show live, if you want to get it without advertisements. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast is where you do it. Plus, you get to support your favorite car podcast with a couple of bucks each month. So it's a latte.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a triple venti latte for some people, but it's a latte. Michael Shoemaker says, Cayenne question. I live in Colorado. I want to tow a 5,000 pound-ish camper a few times a year, along with some not too hardcore off-roading. Will the V6 suffice, or do I need to step up to the S? If the S, do I need to look 09 and up for reliability? Well, you like the diesels.
That's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I do love the diesel for the torque. The V6 is apparently rated at the same 7,700 pounds.
Is it?
But I can't see how it has enough power for that.
I wouldn't.
Alone.
I wouldn't want to tow with a V6 Cayenne.
No,
Yeah.
no, not that much. So
You probably want a V8.
a V8 or a diesel.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, and you can still. There's no problem with because I've pulled probably too much weight, but with off-road tires and our suspension, like the one you drove, I still towed Jeff's Cup car or 991 Cup cars around on an open trailer.
On an open trailer,
yeah.
and it's fine.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say get an 8. And do I need to look after 09 for reliability? First gen versus second gen? I mean,
I don't know. I think the first gens are holding up fairly well. I don't work on them. We don't do them. We jumped past that and went right to the 958s just because it was like, do I want a 996 interior or do I want a 997 interior? Or even a 991 interior.
Yeah.
It's just the 955 and 957 was just terrible interior.
yeah, it's not great. Although you can get that, Byron has it. You can get that, Porsche makes a multimedia upgrade now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a plug. I mean, I don't know if it's 100% plug and play, but it's meant to be plug and play. Right. So you get CarPlay and that kind of stuff, which I'm so glad they're doing that.
Yeah, it does. I was always like, I don't need that, but once you have it, it's really, really
and
nice.
any car that has a sort of transitional digital setup, for a CD changer and whatever, and you're going, this is now just a complete waste.
Right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
My advice is get the newest Cayenne you can afford.
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of smart. Information for anyone and any marquee. It's like
and people like the first gens for the quote off-road hardware, but if he's talking about light off-roading, you don't need the locking diffs and shit. You can do light off-roading.
And the electronic diffs do just fine. Porsche knows how to do all-wheel drive.
Yeah,
like I will do 3-wheel motion regularly. Just carrying a wheel, it locks that wheel and sends all the power to the other one.
Whoa.
Like, it does as much as you could. I've done stuff most people won't dare do. Mm-hmm. And it's not intended to be a rock crawler.
Yeah.
But
a fire road, a trail, it's fine.
And you go across, crazy washes and everything where you do have to, like, you want it to work in the worst case scenario. You don't want to create that worst case scenario just for fun. But that's rock crawling. That's what they do. And I understand the fun there. But, like, I want to go out for a week.
Yeah.
2 weeks. You want to not be in a pickle.
I don't like rock crawling.
I don't.
I get why people do, but
but not for me. And I've done it, and it's done okay. But it's like, no, you risk breaking too much stuff, and that's counterproductive.
Yeah.
No one can extract you.
Yeah.
You're stuck if you're that far out. Anyway.
Kyle says 2025 Integra Type S or TLX Type S as a daily driver, Central Florida, and commute an hour each way to work, all highway.
TLX.
I would say TLX. TLX is better cruiser, and it's automatic.
Yeah.
The Integra is a better handling car.
And the Integra,
manual.
like the CTR, did not get great highway mileage. I mean,
you drove it really far, didn't you?
I drove it to Santa Cruz and back, and I was like, oh, low mid-20s, like just cruising.
Yeah.
Which, great, it's a high-performance motor, but you just know that. If you're just commuting, though. I don't know what the TLX gets, but I would bet it's better.
TLX Type S is actually, like, fast. It's a single turbo 6-cylinder, the launch was at Laguna, and they were actually like pretty fast and handled well and rode well. The downshifts in the automatic weren't very crisp.
What happened to sport compacts though?
Dead industry.
Like I just realized this weekend at the Falcon thing, the Civic Type R is massive.
Yeah.
It's a gigantic
It's a big car. Yeah, well, I mean,
and
the regular Civic is massive.
Of course.
They don't. You know what it is? The Civics and Integras used to come in multiple body styles. Now they only come in one.
Right.
And so there was a hatch, there was a coupe, and there was a sedan.
Right.
And the Type R would just be the hatch or the coupe.
Right.
Now there's only the sedan.
Yeah.
And so they drive good, but they're big.
Yeah,
All right,
they're
real
big.
quick before I get yelled at, the Type S is rated higher highway MPG than the TLX. The TLX only gets 24 highway at best because of the big engine.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good cruiser though.
I'd still rather have one for Florida commuting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need a stick shift car that handles well in Florida.
Right.
That's not.
No.
Florida is the worst place to drive cars.
Can
It's the
imagine.
worst place to drive cars. I like some people in Florida, and I liked Florida's car culture for some things, but it's the worst place to drive a car.
Yeah.
Worst driving
Nothing
ever.
exciting.
Boats. Florida's about boats.
Yeah.
Get yourself a fucking boat, and you're having a great day in Florida. You ever fuck with boats? I mean, you said you like to sail.
No, I mean I enjoyed sailing.
Yeah.
I don't get to sail very often or anything like that. But this speedboats or wakeboard boats, like just being on the water is awesome. You know, it's always fun to have like a hobby, whether it's camping or it's mountain biking or snowboarding or boats. Like being in nature, relaxing and having fun, like all in one.
It's
you know?
enough doing something combined with enough doing nothing.
Yes.
That's why I love sailing.
Yeah.
It's active, but you're chilling.
Yeah.
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 Sailing's the best.
Yeah.
Tim A., if you were given a free 911 Carrera base, how would you modify it for your own personal use and tastes?
I can't definitively answer that one way. It's going to be both. Like it's I would make it more fun, like a touring GT car. You know, I call it touring, you know, not the model, but
Yeah.
like make it high performance, but not go too far, you know, and keep it fun to drive on a daily basis. You know, so it's not going to be too loud. It's going to be good, reliable power and power delivery, you know, compliant chassis. Or I do a safari build, which is still compliant and comfortable for daily driving. But my God, are they a riot?
Yeah. I would do, I mean, I wouldn't want a base. I'd want a T, which is almost a base, but it's got a diff in it and a stick, which you can't get in a base. So let's call it a T.
Yeah.
I would do a little ECU tune, a little bit more power.
Intercoolers.
Because
power.
The kit, that whatever you do,
Yeah.
whatever you guys do to turn that base engine into the GTS engine.
Oh yeah,
like-
it's
easy.
It's easy.
Yeah,
like
so
we do some exhaust work.
Yeah.
Intercoolers for sure, and software.
Yeah.
And really, like what we did recently too was fun and very effective. As we did a water mister kit on the intercoolers.
Oh.
Because people are like, "Oh, cool! I made this amount of power." Yeah, but how many pulls can you do that?
Yeah.
Because they get heat soaked. So we did a water mister like the GT2 RS, and it was awesome.
Oh, how long
Very
does that
effective.
last?
Until the water runs out. You know, I think it depends on how you set the misters, but I think one of my customers was getting 35 minutes on track.
Okay. I assume it's like automatic temperature based.
It's
Not you don't hit a button. Do
It's
it.
no. Yeah, you'd forget. No, it's boost pressure related.
Oh, okay.
So as soon like you can set it to whatever, but if like you're at you start to roll into 8 pounds of boost, you can turn it on then and have it stay spraying while you're through the boost range. It's really effective. I mean,
Yeah, it's probably
obviously
cool.
the GT2 RS is fantastic and
Is it literally based on the GT2 RS's system, or you
no,
make
it's
it
a
yourself?
completely made
Okay.
aftermarket.
Yeah. A base car turned into a Safari would be good because the base power is like more than enough for,
Right.
for dirt. You
Well,
don't need 500 horsepower.
And you have the torque from the turbos,
Yeah.
the little turbos. So yeah, that's really the best way to go.
Yeah, yeah. Bad Gardener says, if you could make a car collab, what manufacturer, model, and changes would you make?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But I'll just go. I'll make it an easy answer, just based on my respect and who I look up to. You know, I would love to do a collab with Roof because they're the best in the business, like hands down. Like for doing drivers' cars, doesn't have to be the most ridiculous performance. It's just
Which they also are.
They also do fantastic performance, but they're just tasteful, and the driving experience is fantastic. Mad respect for Rod Emery and what he's doing. And, we've never collabed or anything, but we've bounced ideas back and forth a few times here and there. We just spoke about Freeman Thomas and the, what is it? The Myers-Manx.
The Manx.
Like he's like, if we gave you one, what would you do?
You want to tune the suspension on mine?
Well, he was talking more of like hey, do you want to I mean, everyone modified those back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, and did their own take, and you're doing your own take with them. It would be.
Mine has a fucking radial engine in it.
That is the coolest part.
That's what we're doing.
That's the coolest part.
When I saw that, I went, I'm in.
Yeah.
To 100%.
Yeah, that's cool.
Airplane engines in cars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Yeah. It's got King shocks too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fan of anything like that. I don't know.
Their suspension guy came out of the King of the Hammers world.
Okay. Yeah.
So
and those guys are. I mean, I think they're pretty brilliant. I mean, those cars are weapons grade. That's how you sum it up. It's just weapons grade. They are like driving rock collars as fast as they can and not breaking stuff.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty crazy.
It's awesome. The other one, the collab that I do with pretty regularly, you know, at light capacity is Son of Cobra, Paul Lefebvre.
He does amazing work.
You know, I do a lot of shit talking amongst my friends, but there's a few people, you know, that are really, really, really brilliant, and he's one of those somewhat under the radar brilliant builders. He does the entire car himself. Like, he just now recently, I talked him out of painting the cars himself.
Oh, this is the full carbon 2002 guys. Yeah.
It is, I mean, his 1,800 pound, you know, little 200 horsepower BMW 2002s.
Yeah.
You know, that, again, great performance, but, and surfboards. He's a surfboard shaper and glasser, and that's what he's been known for, but he loves cars, and he just put his passion into that.
His car, like, there's been a couple times at car shows where I've seen just a car with nice carbon work, and I just went, is this his work? And you walk up and you see the little sticker. So he's not, just for people listening, he's not only doing 2002 stuff. Like, he's doing a lot of one-off carbon fiber work for, you know, high-dollar stuff.
He does a little bit, not a lot. I mean, you might see it a bunch.
He does as much as you can do,
You guys get the, you know, sounds like you guys see everything that is a thing.
Yeah.
You know? But he's trying to even dial some of that back because he's so busy with his stuff. And I've told him, I was like, don't get too busy that you can't work with me. Like, we do some fun stuff together. You know, we'll dial in the suspension for him on his cars, and they're brilliant. But those collabs are fun because it's fun to anytime you're surrounded by great people in any shape or form is fun to work with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would love a Taycan Cross Turismo Safari. Yeah. I think would be amazing.
That would be fun.
I think it'd be so rad. It's definitely out of my budget.
And most people. But the one thing that is a fact is that electric anxiety. Yeah, I think that would be a thing.
It's not the anxiety for me. I really like to hammer home that it's not range anxiety, because the gauge on the thing is very accurate with how much range you have, and it's not a very complicated math problem. It's infrastructure anxiety.
Right.
When I get to this charger, will it work? And that's really and if it doesn't, what's my next plan?
Oh, wow.
That's the bigger problem than I'm not going to make it there. I'm going to make it there, but will I be able to leave there?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Electrify America has done a really good job in the last year
of
improving the quality of their chargers. The other company, Z, have not done such a great job. But it's just like, for me, the problem with doing a build like that and investing that kind of money, on top of the fact that I don't have it, is like a Taycan or any EV is a rapidly depreciating asset.
Right.
You know, so if you do a Keen car or your Turbo Safari or any other kind of build on a sports car, it's not, you're not just throwing money into this thing that on its own is like on a water slide of value, you know?
Right.
So that's like, you just have to be able to burn the money.
Right. Which, I mean, when you have a car hobby, that's pretty much what we're doing, right?
Right. I invest a lot of money in cars. I hope to get some of it back.
Yeah.
You know, I understand that I'm not going to get it all back,
right.
But some of it.
Some of it, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Joe says, most overrated and underrated Porsche colors. You're not really much of a color guy.
I'm not a color guy.
You keep it pretty simple.
Yeah. I mean, I'll embrace anything. I've seen some awful colors that you can put your little twist to it and make it really great. You know, so I don't have a underrated, overrated color thing. It's all subjective.
Most overrated?
Silver. I mean, I bitch about it all the time.
Well, silver is just fucking silver.
But
PTS, GT silver.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't spend $15,000 for silver, gray, or black or white, which you could do.
Right.
I recently asked about that. I asked someone at Porsche, what's up with the fucking 4 different blacks and their PTS, and he said there's so many people. There's a big crossover between people who want to say they have some special PTS and people who want a fully blacked out car.
Right.
And so they found that offering PTS blacks is very popular. All right, fine.
The business case makes sense. Like you make a special silver, and some of the silvers are a little higher quality than like a free silver.
GT silver is quite nice.
It is a nice looking silver.
It's a nice silver.
It is nice.
But
it's got a lot of like copper in it.
Yeah. On a GT3 RS, that silver with like red graphics is pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it just has to stay really clean.
It also is the era.
Yeah.
So like if you're talking silver and 996,
no thank you.
Or honestly, the 80s and a 911 in guards red.
Yeah.
But did you know there's like 8 guards reds?
Yeah. No, the guards red that you
Oh.
get, like my friend Marco, who brought out his 718 Spider for us to film, has its guards red. Does not look at all like 80s guards red.
Right,
It's completely
and
different.
now guards red on the modern cars. Like I had a couple, a GT3 and a GT3 RS come in guards red, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
beautiful.
very different color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, and just neat to see because everything's like either overly colorful.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I will answer like lizard green. That's overrated. They just so many cars were that color,
Yeah.
and then people I can't stand when they put gold wheels on them. It's like
That's not great. Yeah, it's not great.
not good for me.
I think Miami blue is a little overrated, or maybe it's just a little played out. I think I've seen a lot of Miami blue. I probably know 5 or 6 different people in LA that had GT3s in Miami blue.
Yeah, that was pretty common.
It's not a bad looking color, but
No. It's just when it gets overused, we start to,
Frozen berry underrated for sure.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think it's fun when it's just not what everyone's doing. Love to go.
Yeah.
I like to go against the grain.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. Like people do that, and everyone goes, "Oh, that does look good," and then people start buying that one, and then it gets just more popular.
You know what I love now? Silver wheels again.
Silver,
nobody does them.
Yeah.
I think on the right. I think there are colors where I like gold or bronze wheels, but it has to be the right color paint. Also,
it does.
Yeah.
You can't put them on anything and have it look amazing.
Yeah, and it's again, it's I love it too, but so many people have done it. Now it's like now I got to go against the grain.
Yeah.
All the black too. Everyone overdid black.
Black wheels.
Terrible.
You don't show off what the wheel looks like. You're hiding it. And then it blends in with the tire.
Right.
As well. So you don't get the size.
It makes the overall wheel look smaller.
Yeah.
Marco's Guards Red Spider with silver wheels.
Yeah.
There's on the Instagram on the post I just put up about
car
the
look
video.
good.
It's on the slideshow there. It's the next. It's in there somewhere. My car's the Guards Red with the silver wheels.
Perfect.
That's
Awesome.
excellent.
That was the GT3 that I remember having in the
that's
shop, and I was
excellent.
just like, do not change this.
Yeah.
This is so good.
The gold wheels on my car bring out the gold in that color.
Well, it's also
really
a
nicely.
muted gold.
Yeah.
It's not the super, like my BBS ED8 gold.
Yeah,
E88
those are
gold. That's gold.
Yeah. This is frozen polished champagne.
I like it.
That's a good. I like it a lot. Too. HRE makes a fine wheel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that Guards Red with the silver, that really works. That's a good choice by our buddy Marco at TLG Auto.
What's with you guys, you bald guys with convertibles?
Fucking, we have a type.
You can't mess their hair up. you know?
Ooh,
yeah.
you're onto something.
We're aerodynamic.
If I take a shower and do my hair and then I put the top down, I'm like,
Yeah, I can ride top down all the time.
Love you, Marco.
Drains wallets fast. Joey seems to love KW, but are Olin's and other brands just as viable, especially for a street car? I know track guys also run a variety of other brands. Are there real-world differences between, say, a KW V3 and an Olin's road and track setup?
That will go with that final sentence because it's night and day. The road and track is a single adjustable. Mm-hmm. You cannot tune dampers without having compression and rebound separate. Like you really have to have them separate because the way it hits the bump and the way it releases, is very important. Mm-hmm. So night and day. The road and track also is like IKEA. It's a modular damper, that you have to assemble all the parts. And I saw more people get it wrong, or have it break loose, like a sway bar mount, or even just the clevis mount. It's screwed on. It's not an assembled piece. So reliability is a thing. The other brands, like the Öhlins TTX, fantastic stuff. I'll work with those.
Is that their higher end one?
Yeah. They have a TTX 2-way and a TTX 3-way. It's been so long since I've used them. I used to sell a ton of them. I like my relation.
10 years ago, it seemed like Öhlins was the future of everything.
They still are, and what they've done smart is, they've got that Öhlins brand, and then they made the road and track, and that's what everyone runs, but it's really pretty terrible. So they're like, I have Öhlins. I'm like, yeah, but which one?
Yeah.
There were Öhlins road and tracks on the Vorsteiner E46 M3, and I was really impressed with the ride, the quality and responsiveness. But it was a touring ride. It was definitely not.
Yeah. I mean,
ride.
It can be good for some people, but for what I do and what I deliver is not out of the box.
Of course.
So I like to have the tunability. But, when you're looking at a 3-way or 4-way KW versus an Öhlins TTX, it's very close. What KW does really well is they have a low-speed compression circuit like no one else, so we can reduce the spring rate, which is where you start to have fun and get the performance and the compliance, really nicely, because you're letting – and I quote Tanner Faust because it was him that said it to me first, during the GRC days. We were tuning a 996 turbo for him, but he's like, less rate. It kept going. I'm like, you're crazy. And this was not far out of my pro racing days. So I was like, no, more rate. He's like, less. Let the fluid do the work. And it was like, bing. And ever since, and then, of course, I learned more at Pikes Peak. But ever since, I've been doing more and more of that, where it's like ridiculously low spring rates.
Yeah, you're leaning on the shock rather than the spring to do it. Yeah.
You've got some support from that low-speed circuit. Moton, MCS, JRZ, they're all a derivative of the same company. JRZ guys left and created Moton, and Moton guys left and started MCS. I had to say recently, I trust brands that are in professional racing. KW is on the factory race cars now. It wasn't that way when I was racing. But we were some of the first. I think we may have been the first to run KWs in North America in pro racing. We won the championship beating out Porsche. We never had a damper failure on those dampers, and the response was amazing. Like the adjustments that Pat or Jörg called for, they immediately got the response that they wanted. Like it was really great for that reason. Still the same way. And KW, like if I use my V5 and V4 kit on the GT3 RS, I've taken out MCS and JRZs to put those in, and the lap times are improved.
Really?
Yeah. So that's always without getting into too many details, like they're quicker.
Okay. I think we kind of answered Michael's question earlier, but Gabe says, wants to work in the automotive engineering industry. Are third-party or aftermarket companies a good way to get your foot in the door? They seem potentially volatile, i.e. wheel pros, and I'm not sure if OEMs value the experience. Can you go from working at an aftermarket company to working at an OEM? I usually see it go the other way.
You do usually see it go the other way, but I forget, I wish I could remember the story, but it was recently that someone went from aftermarket, and I believe it was my brother's Tacoma, which always, when that would show up in my feed, which it did recently with, reposting the GT1.
Yeah.
It
was in the background.
The chipmunk cheek, Tacoma was back there. He did a twin turbo kit with a tuner. And he ended up not putting the kit into production because the trucks differed from one to the other
really?
too much. And it was like, you're shoehorning two turbos into that engine bay. Like, there was a lot of work, and it just, none of them were the same. So he gave up on it. But I asked my brother, I was like, is he still tuning? And he's like, no, he actually works for Toyota now. Huh. So it was kind of neat. I mean, if you're that good and you're writing software and making good stuff happen, they can have their eye on you.
Yeah, I don't personally know anyone who's gone from aftermarket to OEM. But
I think it would be the mental aspect would be too difficult for that individual, not so much the manufacturer. It's I had an opportunity when Tim and I split up to go work for Porsche, and a number of people, including Jeff Zwart, were like, "You don't want that spot." Like,
Well, it's extremely corporate.
It's extremely corporate. You're handcuffed. Like North American, stuff is handcuffed by Germany,
right?
In its own, like you won't be able to exercise the development stuff that you like to do so much. You will not be happy. I'm glad he said that, because he was absolutely right. And now I laugh like I'm unemployable. Like I could not do this and go work for someone.
No, me too.
They'd have to be like,
it'd be like horrible.
You want to pay me and just never talk to me and let me do whatever I want? Like, sure, maybe I could do that, but when's that going to happen?
Yeah, when they have like some skunk works, like sure, but otherwise, yeah. Is that all we got?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Joey.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming up and braving the traffic. I appreciate it.
That's why I took the truck. Because you sit higher, and you just kind of zone out and be at peace, try to get zen. Because I get mental in traffic.
Oh, yeah.
People are so stupid.
Yeah.
You're such a calm person all the time.
Oh, my God. No way. No way. The cussing that comes out of my mouth, like my now wife, she's like,
Right, congratulations.
Thank you. She's shushing me, and I don't want to be shushed right now. I'm pissed. Like, you fucking asshole.
When Hannah and I go somewhere together, she fucking drives. I just can't do it.
I've started doing that.
Can't
like,
do
if
it.
I go to the mountains on a Sunday and all the traffic is coming back into town, like I just say, we can go hike, we can go mountain bike, we can go do whatever, but you're driving home. We'll take my car, but you're driving home. And I also realize that my anger now isn't necessarily with the driver. It's the adaptive cruise control.
Oh.
Why are you hitting the brakes? They're not.
Yeah, they're not.
It's the car.
Yeah. They have 5 dots SCAP set up.
Oh my, it does it in my Ram.
Well,
and I don't use it because it slams on the brakes if it doesn't like what it
systems
sees.
are not all created equal. Yeah. And the newer ones are usually way better than the ones from a few years ago. But even then, depends on the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And whether you've toggled it, the five dashes or just one.
What distance, right?
I'm a 1 dash.
I'm a 1 dash, and I still don't like it because it leaves enough room for somebody to sneak in between.
Yeah. You got to fucking maintain your position.
Yeah.
This is why I'm 2 wheels, man. The traffic is just too much, and if I got somewhere to be 2 wheels, is just the only way.
We ride Super 73s all through Newport.
Oh, that's the move too. Yeah.
You can still use the sidewalks.
Yep. Well, the Wild West of e-bikes is so glorious. I mean, I'm a pedestrian, and now I'm a car, and now I'm a motorcycle, and now I'm a bicycle. What do you want to be? Like, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, you're faster than any cyclist has ever been.
It's kind of like sailing and the jet ski little assholes. Yeah, that's all the little e-bikes. You're like, fuck off.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to get around.
Well, of course, follow Emotion Engineering on Instagram. It's emotion_engineering. And it's what is the website? E-motion engineering?
No, it's emotionengineering.co.
.co.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, we're trying to sort all that stuff
We'll
out
put it
someday.
we'll put it in the fucking the show notes.
And we just started YouTube stuff too, so to actually show people the projects and more intimate detail.
And of course, if you want to buy Joey's personal car, it's still for sale. It's possibly the best engineered G-body 911 in the history of G-body 911s.
Yeah, thank you.
It is pretty crazy.
It was really fun to drive it this weekend, though. And it was like, whoa, I don't want to get rid of it.
Was that the old and the new intake manifold? That's just the old.
That's the old right there.
That's just the new one is carbon.
Yeah, it's all
right?
carbon.
Yeah.
It's awesome. The car is just, we repainted it, fresh transmission, fresh engine, some fresh interior stuff, new seats. It's refreshed so some new owner can love it for years to come and hopefully drive the tar out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a very good car. And it has gold wheels.
Well, now that it hasn't gone away, maybe we do another follow-up video to our, what was that, 10 years ago?
I think it was
12?
more. I think it was 12 years ago. I think it was 2012 we
Okay.
drove it.
Season 1 of 2?
It was season 1.
It was season
So
1.
it was
So, yes.
2012. Yeah.
12 years ago, you
And it
helped
looks
make
better
that
now.
car
Did
internationally
you
famous.
put a headliner in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I even
My only complaint about that car was it burned my head.
I think I quoted that on either Magnus's YouTube or Larry's YouTube. So yes, it has a little
there it does have a headliner.
Alcantara headliner
Yeah.
up there, and
No, it was when you first finished it. That was bare metal, and it
Yeah.
burned my fucking head. It was
Well, I also
brutal.
lowered the seats another inch and a
that
half,
helps,
like
too.
cut out the seat mounts and dropped it in. You know, I look like a 12-year-old driving it.
That's, dude, I want to look like Sebastian Loeb in the car. I want to be sitting on the floor.
yeah, I'm literally like, if you look at, it's just my head.
Yeah.
You just barely see over the dash.
I
Yeah.
had to park the wipers on the other side so I didn't keep looking straight
Oh,
through 'em.
really? Oh, that's funny. In my Safari car, I sat like on the floor too,
Yeah.
and I'd get out of the car, and people would be like, "I didn't. Why were you here?" And,
This is
yeah,
not computing.
I'm having them do it in the Manx too. I'm having them put the seats
Yeah,
on the floor.
yeah.
It's-
Makes
you need
sense.
it. Yeah, you need it. Where do you drive that thing?
I can't wait.
Oh, it's gonna be crazy.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it sounds like a Cessna.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so
So
cool. I can't
stupid.
wait for people to be like at the light going, what?
Half the people, because I drove their prototype around for a road and track story that's coming out. I spent like 4 hours in it driving around like Huntington Beach and Costa Mesa and Newport for the photos. Half the people are like mind blown. The other half of the people are like putting their windows up. They're like, it's because it's pretty loud. I told Freeman, like, we need to make it like a little quieter. Like, it's a little too much.
A little something.
It's a little too much. Yeah, they're working with, I think, MagnaFlow to create a new exhaust that's like a little quieter.
That's cool.
It's pretty loud.
That's cool.
Thanks for coming, dude.
Yeah.
Always good to see you. And I hope you keep getting silly rich customers that have crazy ideas.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah.
send him a fucking Taycan. Let's go.
Yeah.
Then I can drive it.
Yeah, maybe that'll be a collab. You can help do the...
I will help creative direct their project Taycan Safari. That would be a good ass time. For everybody else, we will see you later this week. And thank you to our patrons for such great questions. Goodbye.